Hey everyone, this is Lead with Who You Are, and I'm Dia Bondi. On this show, we explore and discover what it super duper means to lead with who you are, and we're doing it with people who embody just that across industries, across disciplines, across the globe. In this episode, we're talking with Lisa Simonsen about her journey to becoming the nation's top luxury real estate broker. We all have ambitions, some more hidden than others, and today Lisa shares with us her loud and proud ambition to be the best at whatever she does. She shares some gems in this episode like don't hold on to something you never had, and to be careful with who you share your dreams with, as they just might not be able to handle it well. This episode has a little celebrity flair, big city attitude, and a dream big swagger. Let's go. Hey, just a quick reminder. You can subscribe to this show on your podcast platform of choice. We're live nearly everywhere, and you can always listen to the show at diabondi.com. If there's a leader or innovator in your life who is at their shiniest when they lead with who they truly are, please share the show with them and rate, subscribe, and leave us a review. It makes a huge difference in the reach that the show has when you let everyone else know what you love about the show. Thanks so much. Lisa Simonsen is a luxury real estate broker at Douglas Elliman Real Estate. She began her stellar real estate career over a decade ago and quickly achieved a position within the top 0.5% of all real estate brokers nationwide. She's set sales records for the Plaza Hotel residences, all not on the public market, and executed entirely through her personal contacts. She has dozens of record-breaking townhouse sales throughout Manhattan, both on and off market, and many large deals in partnership with Knight Frank. With Danish and Caribbean roots, she has a long-developed and well-curated global Rolodex. Lisa speaks internationally and is a frequent guest on television and radio programming. At home in New York, Lisa provides a complete suite of capabilities and services in real estate, and we're happy to have her here on the show today to talk about her journey and how she leads with who she is. Welcome, Lisa. So, hello, Lisa, and thank you so much for being with us today on the show. You are a leader in luxury real estate with a significant personal brand, along with a role in reality TV. And I perceive you as someone who is ambitious and driven. And I'm having you on the show today to learn about your career and your goal-getting journey, your story, and how you've led with who you are along the way. So a little bit, I think of your how of the work that you do and the career that you've built. So I work with a lot of ambitious women in Project Ask Like an Auctioneer, and my hope is that your story and your journey can accelerate folks and women who may be listening today to help unstick maybe where they're stuck, unlock something, and help them put their foot on the gas in a way that is aligned to who they actually are, so they can lead with who they are. So hello, Lisa.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me here, Dia. You're an amazing woman. I feel very privileged to have some time here today. I think that if I look back on where I was and my life trajectory and what has gotten me to here, I had an unusual childhood, a wonderful childhood, but I grew up with my Danish mother in a small town in Canada, and she was extremely academic. In fact, when she moved to heaven, she had 6 degrees, and her message was always, you need to be smart, don't rely on your looks. And she had 6 degrees. She was a lawyer, a doctor. So she also made sure I had a great education. She worked many jobs to make sure that I went to private school. I also grew up with my grandmother, who was completely the opposite, who said to me, just rely on your looks, be beautiful, and nothing else matters. So I had 2 different messages growing up. And I like to think I took the best of both of them. I don't know if that's what other people would tell me, but so that's a little bit of the how. And growing up, or at least moving to New York in the 90s, and always just having aspirations of doing more. and not more necessarily financially, but just more. I'm never satisfied. And I think that's a fine line, of course, because it's stop and smell the roses. However, I want to smell the roses very quickly and move to the next.
That's beautiful. And I like to maybe, now that we have a little bit of that context, start with the question we start on the show with every time, which is, how might you answer this question today? Who are you? Who are you today?
Yeah, I am a businesswoman.
Mm.
I am working, always doing things that challenge me. I just got my Florida license. I'm not a great student. That was very challenging for me. I work out every day. That's easy for me. So I always like to challenge myself to things that are very uncomfortable. I don't like sitting in front of a book or a Zoom for hours and learning things. So that to me is great, to just go right out of my comfort zone. I have three children. I get up at 5 in the morning, make sure I have breakfast with them, and then I'm on to, I'm very career driven and very passionate about what I do, and always pushing the envelope, always looking for things that are different and not ever being boxed in. I was in fitness before this, and I really like who I am right now is looking forward to the next 10 years. I feel like I'm in the best part of my life. One of my new team members, he's a very famous boxer, and he sent me a great tape, and it was with the horses, race horses. You can, they have the blinders on. You can only go forward. You can't go. The horses, when they're racing, they can't look sideways or backward. And that's where I'm at right now. That's who I am now, today. I'm not going backward. I'm not trying to look sideways. I'm going forward. And in fact, when I was doing a New Year's, post, just came out of my, mouth naturally. I said, I'm not doing resolutions this year. I'm doing solutions. And I was very sort of impressed with myself that I said that, because it just flowed. And that's true. It's solutions. And I think there's no one walking around that can't be empowered by that, because resolutions is kind of corny. I'm going to lose 5 pounds and I'm not going to have solutions.
I don't do any
Yeah,
resolutions.
forget it. Forget resolution. They're stupid. Or they're not stupid, but it's not, it's cliche. What is a solution? And every single person can use that word. When our children are annoying us, our husband, our boyfriend, our lover, life, business, team members, what's the solution here? What can I do? We now pull back the control and figure out a solution. Maybe we need to, so that's who I am now. I'm figuring out solutions, and I'm thinking of the racehorse.
Beautiful. So maybe you are, maybe you are the racehorse. I love it. Tell me a little bit, so folks can understand sort of what your luxury real estate practice and business look like.
There's a few comments or thoughts that I have when I hear this. We are luxury. That's what the Simonsen team brand stands for, is luxury. However, and I pride myself on this, and I've sometimes been pigeonholed, which we really work against. Oh my God, I never thought you'd be interested in my apartment. It's 500,000 or $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
I take the same pride in those sales as I do in the Uber sales, where I break records, because business is business, and I treat every sale exactly the same. So that's just very important for me. So yes, we are luxury. I do luxury, but my team does everything.
Sure. And so people can kind of imagine on a revenue scale, can you say out loud what kind of revenue you're doing in your business right now, just to give people a sense of scale?
Yeah, well, I mean, we do, we break records. We sell things for $5,500 a foot. That was probably the one of our recent records. We do price ranges, obviously, well over $20 million, and definitely continue to break records all through New York.
I imagine it's a very exclusive place to be in, and there's not a lot of players at that level. And as you think about the business that you've built, the reputation that you've built, the ambition that you have sort of followed to create it, what have been one or two key moments along your path that you feel have been instrumental in bringing you to where you are now?
Our business, and I just recently had this, I worked very hard on a deal for a few years, and it was right there. I mean, it really was right there. Fell apart. And even me at my moment, I definitely had a pity party. And I was told that 15 years ago with a very dear friend of mine, who, when I had a deal fall apart, oh my God, I would have done. He's like, Lisa, He's like, just tell me it's okay. What do you need? Do you need an hour? Do you need a day, a week? What do you need to get over this? Because you got to like, you know, move on. And that's something that it's so fundamental in learning about moving forward and really not getting stuck and having as many balls in the air, not in a foolish way of sort of jumping around, but, we really, when things fall through, it really is next,
Yes. Yes.
next.
And what was that circumstance 15 years ago when the deal fell apart? Was that
It was a board refusal. It was a co-op board, which is what we have in New York, and it was a board refusal, and it didn't work out. But my more recent deal that fell apart was really sort of a game-changing deal. It was going to be, a sort of on every page of the newspapers and the Wall Street Journal, etc. And we were there, and then it fell apart, and that did kind of. I was like, and I think that it's just a great thing in life to remember, especially when you're in business. You have to be on to the next.
And it sounds like that's been instrumental in you being able to continue to build, even if in the face of those evaporating deals, right?
Absolutely. And it's never, we have to also, and I think I like to remember this. We really can't hold on to things we never had. So the reality is that check had never
wait, go. Say that again. We can't really
hold on to things that we have never had.
Beautiful.
So
yes.
that, even though my client wired the millions of dollars to the buyer, the seller, I had never my commission had not arrived.
Mm-hmm.
I had already started maybe spending some of it. However, it actually had not cleared the bank account. So, I was having a pity party, but I really didn't. Yeah, I get why I was upset 2 years later, but it hadn't really happened.
I love that. That's so beautiful. The idea of not really holding on to something you never really had. It's like there's this gap between where our mind is, our ambition is, our thoughts are, and the reality, actually, the pragmatic truth. And, we have to live in this balance all the time of like leaning into our vision for ourselves, imagining what the future will look like when, you've got to keep your eyes on the horizon, but also not hold that so tightly that it holds you hostage, right?
That's exactly right. Absolutely.
So as you think about the key decisions that you made along the way that were really critical to building your career, what might those be? Decisions, not things that happened to you, but decisions you make. Can you tell us one or two key decisions that have been critical to bringing you to where you are?
The decision for me is when I was a trainer, my decision was I'm not satisfied because I'm seeing people that work no more than I do, and they are making more money and spending less time. So it was a decision that I wanted to do what they were doing and figure out why were we both working the same amount of hours and their paycheck looked different than mine. So it was a decision to move from one career and take a risk, that's something I was very good at, into another.
Yes.
It was a decision of I'm not satisfied. I'm happy, but I'm not satisfied. That was a decision.
What did it take to make that decision?
My decisions are motivated by what I never want to have happen. So when I look at certain people, that helps me make a decision. Like, that is not going to happen to me. And I'm going to make a decision, and I'm going to leave fitness and go into real estate.
That's so interesting. So while I don't do resolutions, because I find that like goals and things that I want show up and get named and claimed kind of on a rolling basis throughout the year. There's no reason to just peg it to the turn of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I was on a run this last weekend, and I up in the Northern California coast, along the ocean, a place that just begs you to think about your life.
Yeah,
it's just
so
huge, huge and majestic. And I was thinking about, in this year, what I wanted to no longer say yes to.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of points to what you're talking to around identifying what is not going to be a reality for me.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So as you think about the goals, so in Project Ask Like an Auctioneer, we've got a goal to help 1 million women ask for more and get it, and use asking as a success strategy. And I've been in front of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women in my keynotes and workshops talking about what they want and what their goals are. And in that in that work, I've sort of done a little pattern matching and pattern seeking. And it sort of turns out that I can recognize sort of three goal types. And I want to share those with you and ask you which one you imagine is your goal type. All right.
Great.
So, I've noticed, and I work with a lot of women, in technology and social impact. We have women in product. We have, sales leaders, because I'm here in Silicon Valley, a lot of folks in Silicon Valley. And the types of goals go like this. One are recognition goals that, say, I won a gold medal, I hold the trophy, I earned a certain amount of income, I got the bonus, I got the public recognition. And these come in also the forms of like title, right? And those are great. They're a particular kind of goal.
I'm the chairman. I run a top, right.
Yeah, exactly. And these are legit. The second goal type I notice are folks who sort of like love and pursue mastery of something. It's not about being recognized for it necessarily, but knowing they're excellent. That the person that picks up a violin and says, I am going to be masterful in this, even if I play for only my cats.
Right.
People who are like, I want to be masterful in my particular, the sole data scientist on a team who has deep knowledge and mastery of something. And then the third one are folks that are like have experiential goals. And that's very interesting. Talk to a lot of women who think these are not goals. They'll say, I don't really care about titles and money. And, I don't care about being the best at something. I just want to be done at 4:00. I just want to travel a month every year with my family. I just want to, they want to have certain kinds of experiences. Experiential goals. So I'm curious, of those three, recognition, mastery, or experiential, which ones might yours be?
I'd say 1 and 3. I'd say both.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say both.
And when
I'm a
did
Gemini.
Yeah, you always have to have two sides of a
Yeah.
coin. So as you think about your recognition goals, what form did they take? And when did you sort of know that these types of recognition goals were important to you?
Well, I think I didn't. Again, it sort of just happened. It's like how television has always, presented itself to me. I don't have an agent. It's just been a phone call. We want you, we want you to audition for blank. I think that the same with the recognition. I've really had only 2 careers in my life, fitness and real estate, and I've excelled at both of them. So it's just my personality type. When I look back to even physically what I did with fitness, I was definitely not the trainer standing telling me. I was running, incredible amounts up and down hills. In fact, I ran the Big Sur Marathon.
Oh, cool.
So the recognition has just happened as being, whatever you want to call it, but I've excelled at anything I do. I excel at just because that's my personality. I don't do anything halfway.
And experiential goals. When you talk about, what do experiential goals look like for you?
Experiential goals, I just think that, that's so much part of life. And I think the more mature we get, the more, it's like with my kids, we have our places they've been to in the Caribbean or here or where. And I'm like, what, I want them to, we want to go here, we want to go there. So I think if you come to, our home, I'm very meticulous about our year end book on memories, because I feel like at the end of the day, that's all we have is our memories. So experiences, that really is it at the end of the day. No matter where we are financially, we remember, like when our mother was cooking or this or that, whatever it is. So experiences, to me, that's sort of really the name of the game.
When you talked in the beginning of our conversation about sort of being the racehorse with the blinders on, always forward, like an extreme amount of focus. What do your goals look like today?
My goals, well, it goes back to, I almost don't want to even use the word goals. Goals to me are almost the resolutions, because I, years ago have done goals. I want to lose 3 pounds. I want to not have no more, wine during the week or whatever it is, right? Spend less at Starbucks. But I think now it's not really about that for me. My word is really, and I'm sticking to it, solutions.
So talk to me a little bit about, about maybe the asks that you made before we started our recording today. You were talking about this notion that like, you don't get what you don't ask for. And can you look at your career and name asks that you've made that have changed everything?
I definitely believe ask not, get not. And it's not in a greedy way or an inappropriate way. But I think that as one is continuing to move forward in life, that you really need to know your value and step it up. And I think a lot of people get, A lot, and it's communication is very difficult for people. So I always like to communicate and do it with integrity, and also just stepping up the bar on what. And there's that very famous book, Thinking Big. It's as easy to think small as it is to think big. So, and you can't ask for big, of course, if you're not, you aren't pulling the, you have to, it has to be in alignment, right?
Can you think of a specific ask that you maybe have made in your career where you did go big? I think of, the very first ask I made early on in my career that sticks out as being a major level up was asking to come on board with somebody who ended up being sort of my early mentor in my career. And it was a big break moment for me. And I remember being like, this could go one way or the other, but I'm gonna ask in a way that is outsized almost to
Mhm.
my resume or my current skills.
Mhm.
And it was the most thrilling and wonderful experience because it was a way for me to sort of stand tall in my own potential. And I'm just curious if you have a particular ask that comes to mind that you've made in your life, a specific one to a specific person or organization that stands out as being pivotal.
Well, I think when I started fitness, and I met Cindy Levy. She's the editor in chief and still a very dear friend of mine. And I was extremely nervous meeting her. She's, sort of the Anna Wintour of the publishing business. And I went in and told her I had my company, which was called Simonsen Says, what I wanted. And I was, again, behind the scenes internally extremely like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm meeting
Yeah.
Cindy Levy. And I really had not done anything sort of conventionally when it came to training. I didn't work at gyms. I didn't do any of that. They say you have to do this or that. And so here I was, and she gave it to me. She put me in all of her magazines. She put me into something at that point that was called the Self Challenge, where I was training 3 celebrities to show, everyone there's always time to work out, people that had very busy schedules. And that was, I think, that would be a great example. I really I really was sort of like, oh my God, but I did it. And it was sort of life altering at that point in my career in fitness.
I think it's an interesting thing you point to, too, that you made that ask after not having the conventional trajectory that would be expected for you to have when you make an ask like that. And I think that's something really important. There's sort of like an easy way to get locked in for us to think that first, these 5 things need to happen before I'm allowed to make a particular ask. And it's not always true.
It's not true at all. And everything in my life, again, growing up in Edmonton as, a biracial child with a Danish mother, everything in my life that's happened, all my big moments, if you just talk to someone, they'd say, oh, that's not going to happen. Oh, that's not going to happen.
So talk to me about what you dream about for yourself now.
Well, I don't even like to think of dreaming. I think I like to think of an action plan, because dreaming and hoping a little bit are dreaming and hoping. And so I one needs a plan. They need to have intention when I wake up in the morning. And it's not that I'm some spiritual guru, but, again, dreaming and hoping, it's wonderful to, lay on the beach and dream.
Okay, so what do you plan for yourself then?
I feel like I'm only starting. It's only beginning. It's like the book, the television. My team is right now. I have incredible people, very interesting, dynamic people joining my team, all different backgrounds and stories. And so I feel that I'm just starting the best part of my, career right now, with a lot of interesting history to get me here.
So writing a book is one thing that's slated for yourself.
Absolutely, writing a book, the hit television show, which is, of course, is very important. And I have been asked to do shows I have not chosen to do. So it's not that I'm desperate to see myself on TV, but it's really about branding and Instagram and social media. So I that's the reason that I did a show that I felt it was right on brand. It's about being a mentor and someone switching their careers. And so that is definitely something else that, is moving forward. Opportunities with television.
Will your book have an opportunity to sort of, you say that, it's about being a mentor. Will your book be a way to scale that voice, to bring that mentor voice out into the world?
100%. That's exactly what I want it to be. And that's what gives me, when I think about it, it's so much inspiration. because so many of my friends will say, well, what would Lisa do? Or their daughters follow me. And to think that I could inspire someone, that just to me is incredible.
On that same theme, and maybe to wrap our conversation, if there were, two pieces of advice to give to young, ambitious women who have, idea and a vision for themselves, what is, and maybe are at the beginning of a new chapter, what is your advice to help them get to the next level?
It's a great question. And it's a wonderful question because it's hard to, that's such a big topic, but there's some definite, you have to be very careful about the people you surround yourself with. You are really the sum of, and this isn't me coming up with this line, this is anyone that says this, you are the sum of the people you spend time with. So, and I think you have to be very careful with who you're sharing your dreams with, because most people can't handle it. And most people are just surviving and they're miserable. So if you have a really great idea and you tell your grandmother or your aunt or your best friend who, is mad at their boyfriend, oh, yeah, so I just think one has to be very private on certain thoughts and keep them only with people that also get it. And that's not a lot of people. So be very careful who you're sharing your information with, and be careful or be aware of who you're spending time with.
I love that you're pointing to this idea of being careful with who you share your dreams with, so that they are not getting stepped on, or, it doesn't have.
No, exactly. And listen, tell someone with a Gulf Stream who has, a great art collection and is running a company your dream, and they'll probably say, that's really interesting. Let's talk about it. Tell someone who is miserable and working at a job they hate your dream, they'll probably say, that's never going to happen.
It's interesting. This is something I talk about in my book, Ask Like an Auctioneer, that we have to let our dreams be known, but you're almost layering another nuance on top of that, which is make your dreams be known in a choosy way.
In a choosy way. To share your dreams with that person who, if you want to write a book, don't talk to someone who's never written a book.
Yeah.
Right. So choose, if you want to be, the best barber in the city, don't talk to the person who just lost, the only job they had. Like, just choose carefully who we're sharing our information with, or who we're sharing our dreams with.
And to finish our conversation, as you think about embodying who you are and using it to lead, what does that mean for you? Does it mean bringing your whole self to all of your challenges? Does that mean, activating your own internal courage to be successful? Like, what does it mean for you to lead with who you are?
I think it means being authentic. I have to be authentic, and people know if you're. When I moved to New York, I studied acting, and I was a horrible actor because I can't fake it. So does that mean if I disagree that I'm, rude or anything else? Of course not. But I think authenticity, people they get authentic. They know when they're connecting or they're being sold something, right? So I think leading with who I am is starting with being authentic.
Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful answer. And probably the most direct and I don't know, brief one we've had so far.
Well, I think that if you spoke to anyone, if you took 15 people that know me, whether it be a best friend to, someone at the local barber store, no one would ever say that she's not authentic. And that doesn't work for everyone. Authenticity.
Lisa, thank you so much for being with us today. It's great hearing your story. Lead with Who You Are is a production of Dia Bondi Communications. Scored, mixed, and produced by Arthur Leon Adams III. And executive produced by Mandy Miranda. You can reach out to us at hello@diabondi.com or leave us a voicemail at 341-333-2997. You can like, rate, share, and subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Go to diabondi.com for show notes and to learn about all it is that we do to help you speak powerfully and lead with who you are.